Hello and welcome. Today we're diving deep into one of the biggest mysteries that has puzzled human beings for centuries. Where did the universe come from? And how did life begin on Earth? To answer these questions, we will explore both ancient wisdom and modern scientific discoveries, comparing how different civilizations and scientific minds have understood these profound topics. In this video, we're going to explore the Vedic and Buddhist scriptures, which are thousands of years old, and see how their understanding of the universe and life connects to modern science, covering everything from cosmic creation myths to evolutionary biology. What ancient India said about creation. Let's start by talking about one of the oldest known texts in the world, the Vedas. These are collections of hymns written around 3000 BC by wise seers who tried to make sense of the universe. The cosmic being, Purusha Sukta. One of the most famous hymns is called the Purusha Sukta. So, what is Purusha Sukta? Imagine the entire universe being part of a gigantic cosmic being called Purusha. The Vedic seers describe Purusha as a being with countless heads, eyes, and feet, meaning he is everywhere, sees everything, and is part of everything in the universe. But Purusha isn't just any ordinary figure. He represents consciousness in the material world. Everything in the universe, according to the Vedic texts, is made up of Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha is the consciousness, while Prakriti is the material world, the stars, planets, and even you and me. The sacrifice that created the world. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. According to the Vedas, the universe came into existence through a sacrifice. But this isn't a physical sacrifice like we might imagine today. In this story, Purusha sacrificed himself, and from his body the entire universe was created. The stars, the earth, animals, plants, and people. His head became the sky. His arms became the air. His feet became the earth. This idea of creating the universe through sacrifice has been interpreted by some scholars as a symbolic way of explaining how everything in the universe is interconnected. Modern connection, the universe as a body. Let's pause for a moment. You might be wondering, what does this have to do with science? Think of it like this. The Vedic concept of Purusha, the idea that the entire universe is one big, interconnected body, is similar to what modern physics says about the universe. Science tells us that matter and energy are never created or destroyed, only transformed. Everything is interconnected, just as the ancient seers described. Let's talk about another fascinating text called the Nasadiya Sukta. This hymn talks about the time before the universe even existed and what happened during the very first moment of creation. The mystery of creation. The Nasadiya Sukta asks a very profound question. What was there before creation? It says that before the universe, there was neither existence nor non-existence. There was just emptiness, no light, no darkness, no time, nothing. Then out of nowhere, a mysterious force, which the text calls the One, created the universe. This force, described as breathing without breath, willed the universe into existence. Does this sound familiar? If this sounds a lot like the Big Bang Theory, you're right. The Big Bang Theory is the scientific explanation for how the universe began. According to this theory, about 13.8 billion years ago, the universe started from an extremely hot and dense point, and it has been expanding ever since. So here we have an ancient hymn written thousands of years ago that describes the creation of the universe in a way that is surprisingly similar to what modern scientists believe happened during the Big Bang. The Vedic seers didn't have telescopes or computers, but through deep meditation and contemplation, they described the universe in ways that align with today's science. Now that we've talked about how the universe was created, let's turn our attention to life. How did life on Earth begin? The Vedas and Buddhist scriptures have their own explanations, which we will compare to modern scientific theories. In Buddhism, there's a text called the Aggañña Sutta, which talks about how life evolved. It says that in the beginning, the earth was covered in water. Slowly, living beings started to appear. But here's the twist. These beings weren't like humans or animals. They were radiant, floating creatures, almost like spirits, that came from other parts of the universe. Over time, these beings became more material, taking on physical bodies and eventually becoming humans, animals, and plants. According to this story, Life on Earth started with very simple forms and gradually became more complex, similar to the process of evolution. Modern science explains the origin of life with a theory called abiogenesis. This is the idea that life on Earth started from non-living chemical substances. Scientists believe that billions of years ago, Earth had the right conditions for life to form in what's called the primordial soup. This was a mix of chemicals, water, and energy, and from this soup, the first living organisms, like bacteria, emerged. Over billions of years, these simple organisms evolved into more complex creatures, just as the Buddhist texts describe beings transforming from radiant forms into physical bodies. Now let's dive deeper into this idea of the primordial soup, the mix of chemicals that led to the creation of life. What is the primordial soup? In 1953, scientists Stanley Miller and Miller-Urey conducted an experiment to recreate the conditions of early Earth. They mixed water, methane, ammonia, and hydrogen, gases that were present on Earth billions of years ago, and then introduced an electric spark to simulate lightning. The result? They created amino acids, the building blocks of life. This experiment showed that life could have started from simple chemicals, just as scientists had theorized. Interestingly, the Buddhist Aggañña Sutta also describes the Earth being covered in water, with life emerging from this soup. The text talks about beings tasting the chemical earth and gradually taking physical form. In fact, Sri Lankan scientist Dr. Cyril Panspermia even extended Miller and Urey's experiment, creating not just amino acids but more complex molecules like ATP, which is essential for life. These findings mirror what ancient texts hinted at. Finally, let's look at another theory, Panspermia. This is the idea that life didn't start on Earth at all. Instead, it came from space, carried by comets or asteroids. What is panspermia? According to the panspermia theory, microscopic life forms, like bacteria, could have traveled through space, hitching a ride on comets or meteors. When these celestial objects hit Earth, they could have seeded life here. The Aggañña Sutta describes how beings came to Earth from a different realm of existence called the Abhasara world. These beings were radiant, spiritual entities that came to Earth and eventually evolved into physical forms. This idea of life coming from outer space sounds a lot like the panspermia theory. In fact, modern scientists like Dr. Chandra Wickramasinghe have studied cosmic dust and found that it contains organic molecules, proof that life could indeed have come from space. Thank you for watching. If you want to learn more, check out the references below to the Rig Veda, Nasadiya Sukta, and the Aggañña Sutta. We'll also provide links to modern scientific studies and experiments, like the Miller-Urey Experiment and research on panspermia. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives